Welcome to the deep dive. We are so thrilled you could join us today. I want you to picture this scenario.
Oh boy.
Try to paint it as vividly as you can in your mind. It's the 4th of July, or maybe really sweltering Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You're out in Los Angeles. Maybe you've spent the entire afternoon at a completely packed beach in Santa Monica, or, you've been navigating shoulder-to-shoulder crowds at the Grove.
Just exhausting.
Exactly. You are exhausted, your feet hurt, you're a little sunburned, and you are more than ready to just sink into the driver's seat of your car and blast the air conditioning.
Dream.
Right. So you reach into your pocket or you start digging around in the bottom of your beach bag, and your stomach just drops. Your fingers hit empty space, your car keys are gone.
That is a deeply visceral feeling of panic. Your brain almost refuses to process it at first.
Total panic sets in. You dump your bag out on the pavement.
Yeah.
You retrace your steps all the way back to the sand. You ask the lifeguard. You check the lost and found.
Yeah.
Nothing. The sun is starting to go down, and you are officially stranded. So today's deep dive is all about uncovering the real financial and logistical consequences of losing your car keys in a sprawling, gridlocked city like LA.
It's a nightmare.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission today is simple. We want to arm you with the exact knowledge you need to avoid falling victim to predatory scams and ultimately save you a significant amount of money, time, and immense stress.
Because it is a situation where temporary desperation can very quickly lead to terrible financial decisions, especially if you aren't prepared for how the modern automotive security industry actually operates.
Right. And to get to the bottom of this, we have pulled together a truly fascinating stack of sources for you today. We're looking at official consumer protection reports and guidelines directly from the Federal Trade Commission.
Very important stuff.
Yeah, plus transcripts and hidden camera footage from undercover investigative journalism stings, actual locksmithing training manuals, and some truly harrowing real-life horror stories pulled straight from Reddit.
The stark contrast between the official training materials of legitimate locksmiths and the deceptive tactics used by the scammers in these undercover reports is genuinely eye-opening. I mean, it reads almost like a true crime story.
It really is a wild ride because you're stranded, you're panicking, and your first instinct is usually to pull out your phone and Google the nearest help.
Of course it is.
But as we're going to find out today from the FTC reports, that frantic internet search is exactly when you are most vulnerable to being taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
The absolute best defense is having a trusted professional already saved in your contacts. Which brings us to our sponsor today, West Point Locksmith. Phone 39295-4040. Fast, reliable, and professional locksmiths serving all of Los Angeles.
They're great.
From emergency lockouts to rekeying, smart locks, and car key replacements, they're available 204/7 with 5-star reviews to keep your home, business, and vehicle secure. Keep that number handy because, as you'll hear today, you do not want to be making a hiring decision while standing in the dark at a beach parking lot.
That is the honest truth. A little preparation goes a very long way in this scenario.
For sure. So, to help set the baseline context of why losing a modern car key is such a massive, complicated headache, I want to toss it over to you. Why is losing a key so much harder and more expensive than it was, say, 20 years ago? Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay, to understand the modern headache, we really have to look at the massive technology shift in the automotive industry. We aren't just dealing with jagged pieces of brass anymore.
Right.
Decades ago, a car key was purely mechanical. If the ridges on the key turned the cylinder in the door and the ignition, the engine started. It was a simple physical puzzle.
Just metal moving metal.
Exactly. But today, automotive security is highly advanced digital cryptography. First, we are dealing with transponder keys. These have a tiny microchip embedded inside the plastic head of the key. When you turn the ignition, the car's engine immobilizer sends out a radio signal. If the microchip in the key doesn't answer with the exact right encrypted digital password, the fuel injectors are shut off. The engine physically will not start, even if the key turns.
So the car is essentially interrogating the key before it allows you to drive away.
Precisely. On top of that, we are dealing with laser-cut keys, which have a distinctive winding groove milled down the center rather than cuts on the edge. That requires highly specialized, expensive milling machines to duplicate.
Right. You can't just get that done at a hardware store kiosk.
No, not at all. And increasingly, we're dealing with prox keys or push-to-start fobs, where you don't even insert a key. The car just needs to detect the fob's-specific radio frequency in your pocket.
Which is incredibly convenient right up until the moment that high-tech fob is buried somewhere under a beach towel in Venice.
Yes. And when you lose that highly technical piece of equipment, you are instantly faced with what I call the dealership versus locksmith dilemma.
I think anyone's first instinct in that scenario is, well, they think, I drive a Honda. I need to call the nearest Honda dealership.
That is the natural reaction. But if you go to a dealership, you face massive logistical hurdles. First, the dealership service center cannot come to you.
Oh, man. So you have to tow it.
You have to hire a tow truck to drag your locked car out of whatever crowded beach parking lot or subterranean parking garage you were stuck in, which is a nightmare in itself.
Good luck getting a tow truck into a low-clearance garage.
Right. Then you have to wait in line at the service center, which might not even be open if it's a weekend or a holiday. And finally, dealerships are notorious for charging top dollar. You're looking at hundreds of dollars, sometimes stretching well into the thousands for luxury European vehicles, just to replace and program a new fob.
Wow. But the sources outline a much more efficient alternative, the mobile auto locksmith.
Yes, a legitimate, fully equipped mobile auto locksmith can perform what the industry calls an AKL job. That stands for all keys lost. They can do the entire job, basically fabricating a key from absolutely nothing right there on the side of the road or in the parking garage without you ever needing a tow truck.
I was looking at these locksmith training manuals we pulled for our sources, and the process they use to make a key from thin air seems incredibly complex. There was an acronym that kept popping up in the literature, PPC.
Ah, yes, PPC.
What exactly does that stand for, and how does a technician actually pull it off in the field?
It is a fascinating, highly technical workflow. PPC stands for Pick, Program, Cut. First is the pick phase. The locksmith has to decode the physical lock on your car door to figure out the shape of the key.
Without the key there at all.
Right. Modern auto locksmiths use incredibly precise, specialized tools, the most famous being the Lishi tool. It looks like a hybrid between a lock pick and a precision medical measuring gauge. They insert this into your car's door lock, which is usually a wafer lock. Imagine a row of distinct spring-loaded tumblers. By manipulating this tool, they don't just pick the lock to pop the door open. They actually measure and decode the specific depths of the internal wafers. They are reading the lock's mechanical DNA.
That is wild. They map out the physical shape of the key without ever seeing the original. So that's the pick. What about the program and cut phases?
Once they have that mechanical DNA decoded, they move to the cut phase. Legitimate mobile locksmiths have automated, computerized key-cutting machines bolted right there in the back of their van. Machines like the SEC E9 or similar high-end models that cost thousands of dollars.
So it's a mobile workshop.
Exactly.
Okay.
They type the depth codes they just read with the Lishi tool into a tablet, put a blank key in the jaw, and the machine perfectly mills a brand new laser-cut key on the spot.
Incredible.
Finally, the program phase. This is where the heavy digital lifting happens. They take a specialized diagnostic computer, like an Autel or a Smart Pro, and plug it directly into your car's OBD2 port.
Just to visualize that for everyone, the OBD2 port is that little plug usually hidden under your steering wheel or dashboard that mechanics use to read your check engine codes.
That's the one. By plugging into that port, this expensive computer forces the car's security system into a learning mode. It allows the locksmith to bypass the factory security and sync a brand new transponder chip or smart fob to your specific engine immobilizer.
It is quite literally a mini high-tech laboratory on wheels, and because of all that expensive equipment and specialized training, it does come with a cost. Looking at the baseline financial hit from our sources, a standard auto lockout, just getting the door open if your keys are sitting right there visible on the driver's seat, costs between $60 and $150.
Which is reasonable for the service.
But if we are talking an all keys lost situation, replacing and programming a transponder or smart fob right there on the spot is going to run you anywhere from $75 to $400 depending on the make, model, and year of your vehicle.
While $400 might sound like a steep, unexpected expense, it is often significantly cheaper and vastly more convenient than paying for a tow truck, paying dealership labor rates, and losing your vehicle for several days.
Very true. But the physical replacement of the key is really only part of the pain we found in the sources. We have to talk about the hidden costs.
Yes, the ripple effect.
If you are stuck at Santa Monica Pier as the sun goes down, You aren't just paying for the key. You are paying for a surge-priced rideshare to get your family home. You might be missing a shift at work the next morning. Your groceries might be spoiling in the trunk.
It adds up fast.
One of the Reddit horror stories in our sources really captured this dread. It was from a user who was absolutely frantic because they were locked out of their car, their phone battery was at 3%, and their pets were locked inside their apartment miles away waiting to be fed.
That is terrifying.
You can feel the panic reading their post. The stress in that moment is just incalculable.
That specific emotional state, that stress and vulnerability is exactly what leads to what we can call the desperation tax.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
When you are in a state of sudden panic, your cognitive load maxes out. Your critical thinking skills plummet. Psychologists call it tunnel vision. You just want the immediate problem solved, regardless of the red flags. Scammers have built an entire, highly lucrative, predatory industry around finding people in this exact state of vulnerability.
The investigative reports and the FTC warnings detail this incredibly sophisticated scam network. It's basically a massive digital lead generation operation. How does it actually work behind the scenes?
It is entirely reliant on manipulating search algorithms. The scammers use a highly optimized conversion funnel. They flood search engines and Google Maps with fake local addresses using a tactic called keyword stuffing.
So they aren't even real shops.
No, they drop fake pins all over the map. They might have 100 fake locksmith listings in Los Angeles alone, making it look like there's a friendly neighborhood mom-and-pop lock shop just 2 blocks away from wherever you happen to be stranded. But when you dial the number on that listing, you aren't talking to a local technician. The call is quietly routed to a massive, centralized call center, often located in a completely different state.
The operators at these call centers are heavily trained to bait the hook. The sources show they will consistently quote you a suspiciously low price over the phone. They'll say something like, oh, a service call, we have a technician right around the corner, it's just $15 or $19.99.
It sounds too good to be true.
To someone who is panicked, staring at a dying phone battery and a potential $300 bill, $19.99 sounds like an absolute miracle.
But it is the definition of a bait and switch. That call center then dispatches a totally untrained, unlicensed subcontractor to your location. And if you read the undercover stings and the Reddit threads, there is a very consistent pattern of warning signs you need to watch out for when this person finally arrives.
So if you make that call, what are the immediate warning signs when the guy actually pulls up?
Well, the first thing you'll notice is the vehicle itself. It won't be a branded custom van outfitted with the expensive key-cutting machines and computers we just talked about. It will almost always be an unmarked personal vehicle, just a regular sedan pulling into the parking lot.
The second thing the FTC warned about is their appearance and demeanor. They usually have no uniform, no official state locksmith identification, and they will actively refuse to provide you with a written estimate before they start the work.
Exactly. A legitimate professional will always tell you exactly what the job entails and what the final cost will be before they touch your property.
And then there is the payment demand. They often demand payment through untraceable or irreversible methods. They want cash, they want you to use Zelle, or they insist on a debit card with a PIN rather than a credit card.
Yep. They do this specifically to prevent you from calling your bank and initiating a credit card chargeback once you realize you've been taken for a ride.
But the most critical red flag, the absolute hallmark of the scammer that showed up time and time again in the investigative reports, is what the industry calls the drill and bill tactic. This is where the situation shifts from deceptive to outright extortion. Explain the drill and bill.
As we established, legitimate locksmiths are highly trained. They can use specialized tools to pick or bypass 99% of standard automotive and residential locks without causing any damage.
Right.
But the subcontractors dispatched by these call centers have virtually no lock-picking skills. Their primary goal is destructive entry. They will walk up to your car door or your front door, fiddle with the lock for maybe 30 to 50 seconds to make it look like they are putting in an effort, and then they will immediately step back and declare that your lock is a high-security or commercial-grade lock that simply cannot be picked.
Even if it's just a standard $20 hardware store deadbolt on an apartment door.
Precisely. They claim the only possible way inside is to drill the lock, effectively destroying the internal mechanisms. They do this for 2 very specific reasons. First, drilling brute forces the door open. Second, now your door has a gaping hole in it, which means you are forced to buy a replacement lock from them right then and there to secure your property.
And they charge an exorbitant markup for absolute garbage replacement hardware. The Undercover Sting by investigative journalist Matt Schrader that we reviewed highlighted this perfectly, and it is infuriating to watch.
Oh, the footage with the elderly woman.
Yes. They caught a scammer on hidden camera working on a 92-year-old woman's house. Her name was Elizabeth. The hidden camera shows the guy quoting a low price initially. He walks up to her standard front door, pretends he can't pick it, pulls out a loud power drill, destroys the lock, and then turns around and hands this elderly woman an invoice for $185.
It's shameful.
In other cases mentioned in the investigative sources, victims were charged anywhere from $400 to up to $950 for a single, simple door lockout after being quoted something like $35 on the phone. They destroy your property, sell you a flimsy $10 replacement lock for $200, and leave you holding a massive bill.
It is entirely predatory. They rely heavily on the psychology of the situation. They know you feel cornered, that it's late at night, or that you just desperately want to get inside your home or your car. They are holding your access hostage until you pay whatever number they write on that invoice.
Which brings us to the most important part of this deep dive. How do you stop this from happening to you?
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Go it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is all about taking control of your security logistics before you are ever in a vulnerable position. The Federal Trade Commission explicitly advises consumers to research and find a reputable, local, vetted locksmith long before an emergency actually happens. You do not want to be scrolling through a search engine trying to verify business credentials while standing in the rain at 2 in the morning.
Which is exactly why you need to save our sponsor's number in your phone right now. Seriously, take out your phone, go to your contacts, and add West Point Locksmith at 310-295-4040. Fast, reliable, and professional locksmiths serving all of Los Angeles.
Highly recommend.
From emergency lockouts to rekeying, smart locks, and car key replacements, they're available 24/7 to keep your home, business, and vehicle secure. Having a trusted professional already saved in your contacts is the ultimate defense against those $19.99 call center scammers.
And from a purely financial standpoint, looking at the locksmith manuals, the single best preventative measure you can take to save money is investing in a spare key today.
The cost discrepancy there is massive, isn't it?
It is night and day. If you have a working key, taking it to a legitimate locksmith to have a duplicate cut and the transponder cloned or programmed is a relatively straightforward process. Depending on the complexity of the chip, it might cost you $50 to $150.
Much better than the alternative.
Right, because the moment you lose your only key, you're instantly forcing the locksmith into that all keys lost scenario we discussed. They have to pull out the Lishy tools, decode the locks from scratch, and interface with the engine computer. That takes significantly more time, skill, and equipment wear and tear. That is exactly how a $100 problem transforms into a $400 problem.
It is the ultimate, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure scenario. But there was a fascinating technical detail in the training manuals regarding spare keys that I had never considered before. It's about the physical reality of key degradation.
Yes, this is a brilliant piece of mechanical reality that most people never think about. Keys are physical objects made of brass or steel that repeatedly interact with metal pins and wafers inside a lock. Every time you insert and turn the key, friction occurs. Over time, both the key and the internal lock mechanisms wear down.
That makes sense.
So if you take a severely worn-down key to a hardware store kiosk and have them duplicated on a standard tracing machine, you are making a copy of a degraded original. The tracing machine introduces tiny bits of manufacturing sloppiness, known in the industry as tolerance errors.
It's exactly like making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. Every time you run it through the machine, the image gets a little fuzzier and loses a bit of resolution.
That is the perfect analogy. The training manual note that by the time you get to a fifth-generation copy, a copy of a copy of a copy, the accumulated tolerance errors can be so severe that the key simply will not align the internal wafers correctly. It will slide into the lock, but it refuses to turn the cylinder.
Wow. It might look perfectly fine to the naked eye, but the microscopic ridges are just slightly out of alignment.
Right, which is why it is vital to inspect your keys. If the ridges look smooth or worn, replace it early. And when you do, ask a professional locksmith to code-cut the new key. Yeah. Instead of just physically tracing your worn-out original, they plug the key code into their computerized milling machine to cut a fresh key to the exact original factory specifications. You are essentially getting a brand new, first-generation key, which prevents unnecessary wear and tear damage to your expensive lock cylinder over time.
That is such a great piece of actionable advice. So what does this all mean? Let's run through the quick takeaways for you today. First, do not wait for a crisis. Go get a spare key made right now, and if your current key is looking worn down, ask the locksmith to code cut it to factory specs.
Excellent point.
Second, if you do find yourself locked out in LA, absolutely never trust a $15 or $19.99 online quote. It is a mathematical impossibility for a highly trained technician to drive a mobile workshop across Los Angeles traffic to your location for 20 bucks.
It's always a bait and switch designed to get someone to your door.
Always. Third, when a locksmith arrives, evaluate the situation. Look for marked vans, look for uniform shirts, and demand a written estimate before they touch your car or your house. And finally, if they walk up to your standard door lock, tinker with it for a minute, declare it's commercial grade, and immediately reach for a power drill walk away. Cancel the job immediately. Do not let them destroy your property.
As a consumer, you have the absolute right to refuse service if the situation feels wrong or deceptive.
And as a final reminder, the ultimate way to minimize your risk, avoid the desperation tax, and keep your money in your pocket is to rely on vetted professionals from the start. West Point Locksmith, phone 310-295-4040. Fast, reliable, and professional locksmiths serving all of Los Angeles. From emergency lockouts to rekeying, smart locks, and car key replacements, they're available 24/7 to keep your home, business, and vehicle secure. Save that number today.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on everything we've explored from the sources today.
Please do.
We focused heavily on the physical keys and electronic fobs we carry in our pockets. But the automotive and tech industries are rapidly shifting. We are moving very quickly toward a future where our smartphones act as our primary and sometimes only car keys. Very similar to how Apple HomeKey works for smart houses, where you just tap your phone to the door to unlock it.
It sounds incredibly convenient. You never have to worry about carrying a bulky keychain again.
It is undeniably convenient. But consider the implications. What happens to our mobility when our phone battery simply dies after a long, draining day at the beach? Or if the phone is accidentally dropped in the water and shorts out?
Oh, man.
Right? If your phone is your car key, your wallet, your navigation, and your only communication device, losing it means you are entirely, instantly cut off from the world. Have we simply traded one manageable vulnerability, losing a piece of metal and plastic, for a much more catastrophic, single point of failure vulnerability? As our physical security merges entirely with our digital devices, the nature of being locked out is going to become far more complicated and potentially debilitating.
I hadn't considered the digital side of that. That is a terrifying but incredibly important point to ponder as we adopt these new technologies. The technology changes, but the core vulnerability of being locked out remains. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel a little more prepared, a little more informed, and ready to tackle whatever comes your way out there. Stay safe, stay curious, and we will catch you next time.